My name is Beth Thomas, and I'm
a teacher here.
I'm not a teacher.
Well, no,
Peril.
Okay.
Peril here at Losser.
All right. How did your childhood play a part in achieving your dreams as an adult?
My childhood started from the time I was old enough to realize that I was part of a family. I'm the oldest of 8, and I was born before your grandmother was born. So just because I'm still here at Losser, I'm not necessarily, 22-year-old chickadee. And back when in my younger day, by the time I was 10 and 12, I was helping out at home with my younger siblings. Mainly 2 brothers that we were 3 years apart. So by the time I was 13, 14, even though we were getting a small allowance, like 50 cents a week,
I'll just call transportation.
which was worth $5 back in that day time, I figured it was time enough for me to get out and earn my own. So we don't have the corner drugstores and stores now that we had back then. So every young person in the neighborhood could either get a job at one of the grocery stores or at one of the drugstores. So I went to the drugstore as a soda jerk, if you know what that is, where they had counters where you made and served sundaes and hot dogs and stuff like that. So I got a job there, and I was making like 65 cents an hour. And it wasn't a full-time thing because I worked on weekends and maybe 2 or 3 hours after school. And I did this up until high school. And when I got my paycheck on Friday, I didn't run to the mall and spend it. I had to take a portion of it home to see if it was needed with some of the household needs, Or I would help out my younger brothers with little things that they might want. Not toys, but maybe socks or undies, And from there on, school was very important. It was stressed daily. When we came home, my mother, after dinner, we did our homework. She wanted to know what we did, what we had learned, what we had difficulties in, and if we had gotten in any type of altercations with anyone, which was unheard of in my day, that we disrespected a teacher, And school was stressed daily. From the time we went to kindergarten up until the time we came out of high school. Do your best, and if you need help, let the teacher know you need help. It's not like, now, I can't do that, and I'll choose something else that's easier for me. It was not that way. Our school program was laid out. When you got to a certain grade, you knew you was going to have certain subjects. And when we got in high school, what we had planned on doing when we left high school, going to college, we started preparing for it in high school. It isn't like it is now. Like I was going to go into nursing, all my classes. Just keep walking, Mr. We're getting this movie down. Keep walking. Thank you. Like I was going into nursing, all of my classes, science, math classes, none of this outside stuff. We had gym, but it's not to the extent that you guys have gym today. Our health class, and it was taught by the same gender. Girls had female, gym teachers and coaches, boys and males. So when I went to high school, I knew I was going to have biology, chemistry, algebra, geometry, trigonometry, all the way up to calculus. I knew we were going to have that. I was going to have that. And we had a selective, which would either be dress design or dress design. And you could take dress design, and then if you wanted to go into the business world, it was all commercial courses. And I went to Cass, which was on this side of 75, and Commerce was the school for business. It was over here. So the only thing I had to take related to business was typing. Math was automatically, but everything that had anything to do with the medical field is what I had to take. So biology, chemistry. Not 1, 2, 3. We went all the way up to 4. So when we went to college, our first year of college was like a breeze because we already had that. So that's it. And I can't stress it enough. Education is the most important thing that you will ever have told to you, and it means something. Whatever you get up here, can't anyone take it away from you. So when a young teacher walk in the class that has gone through where you're trying to get, don't be disrespectful. See if you can learn something, because I'm quite sure you can from them. Okay?
Okay. When did you come to the realization of what your dream was?
Well, I guess back when I came along, you could be a teacher, a secretary, or a nurse. I didn't want to be a teacher. I definitely didn't want to be no secretary, even though I did end up being a medical assistant, which consists of a lot of charting and book work, But I guess when I went into, I would say 6th or 7th grade, when you play nurse and doctor.
Yeah.
That's when I decided, I would like to take care of human beings. I definitely can't sit down to a machine for any length of time. Whereas you can't stand a person that's sick or being around a person that's sick. I can't. And I always wanted to be able to help another human being, not sit and play with no machine. Because if I made one mistake on that typewriter, my blood pressure would go sky high, because there was really no excuse, I thought, if I sat down and was taking care of business the way I should, that I couldn't have done it the correct way in the first place.
They said you had to send a video.
Bullshit. Let's go in it.
What did I hear you say, young man?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
They're from Andover. They have no manners.
Oh, they will next year if I have anything to do with it. Thank you. I'm still on this.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'll cut it out, though.
No,
okay.
You can leave it there.
Okay. Did your dream ever change as you were pursuing it?
Not change. Put on hold for a while, because when I came out of high school, all of the talking that had I had been told, things that I had been told prior to, I should say from the time I entered school until the time I got out of school, went by the wayside because I fell in love. I met my Prince Charming.
Okay, that has to go into the next question. What obstacles did you overcome to pursue your dreams? Did any obstacle become too large for you to overcome? And at what point did it become hardest to pursue your obstacle?
Well, it wasn't an obstacle that I couldn't overcome. It was one that I had to overcome, and that was getting married right out of high school. At 18, I can't say some aren't mature enough for it, but believe me, it's a storybook thing, because then you're dealing with another person. Instead of you making your decisions and things, there's another person involved.
I'm not leaving. I'm just moving the van.
Gotcha. And once you get married, all the decisions it's not just you. It should involve him or her, whoever it is that gets married. And I think at 18, you haven't lived. You haven't experienced life outside of your parents. Parental guide haven't gotten out. Let's know you're going to take on someone else's. And it all depends on who and how. But there's a certain setback. At least for me it was. Because once you get married, then there's another person where the priorities should become yours. You know, whereas before, if you had $1, it was yours to do what you want to do. Once you get married and you take on all these other obligations and commitment, like you're going to need a roof over your head, and then these utility bills come every 2 weeks. It's 30 days, you know, that you have your obligations to meet. It seemed like it's every 2 weeks. Whereas when I was home, none of this really fell in. You know, I'd help out. I'd give my mom money to help with these things. But it was not on my shoulders. Then once I got married, then it was my husband and I. Or my husband and me and my husband. Because half the time he didn't work. You know. So that's how I go. Hello there, Mike. How are you? Hey. Cole.
Okay. What was the most important point in your journey towards reaching your dream?
Well, I was sidelined from my nursing career. But after I got married, and then I had a young child within a year of marriage, I didn't pursue nursing again. Even though I did pursue the medical field, I became a medical assistant. And after, I would say, almost a year into that, I got a job working in a clinic, assisting these doctors or doing what I was taught. But I still went to night school for that. And after a year and a half, it was my full-time job. I stopped going to school and just worked as a medical assistant, which was rewarding in its own way, but it wasn't really what I wanted. I mean, it gave me money to do things with, like get my own car, move away from my parents, because at that time I was separated from my husband with a young child to look after. I could get my own apartment and stuff like that. And I got to know a lot of people that was very helpful to me in pursuing other things that I wanted to do, as far as making sure wherever I went to get a job, I got it. Yeah. But I worked hard. I didn't just mess around when I went there. I did my best, and if there was any problems, I could confront my supervisor and let them know. I would feel free to go and tell them. Like in working for these doctors at one time, there was 3 of them. Then they brought in 2 more. Okay. So now, I was not going to accept these other 2 on my agenda as me being responsible for it. Yeah. So then there was the decision, should I go to the head doctor that hired me in and explain to him that I needed more money if these 2 was coming in, which was no problem. But then I also had little something that I didn't want to do, like for abortions. I'm against that, totally. So in assisting him, no, I would not assist him. If he wanted to be the abortionist, then he had to bring in his own crew of people, because I would not help him at all. And it was agreed that I didn't have to. So then I got my little raise, and then I started thinking, you know, I really don't think I was in a position to say to my boss and tell him what I wasn't going to do or what I wasn't happy, even though he went along with me. It was time for me to move on from there, you know, because there would be time that these people would not be available to assist this doctor, and I wasn't going to assist him. So then I thought it would be a conflict there. So then I went into X-ray, which was very rewarding. And I did that for like close to between 15, 20 years until the nuclear science popped in, which I should have went on. But then my boy was in college, and I thought I was too old to go back for all this, learn all this science crap with all this electronic that you got now, you know. So I let that go. And then I went into the racing, horses business. My uncle was in Ohio. So I gave that up, X-ray, and went in the horse business. Then I was traveling all over the country. Wherever there was a racetrack and my uncle had horses, I was there. Or when the veterinarian had to be to see a horse, I'd be there. And I did that up until 1984.
This afternoon.
Good for you.
He was right there. So he was just talking to my son Jacob. You see Avis?
Uh-oh, he's in trouble.
I don't know if he's in trouble, but that's the direction he went.
He ought to be.
And I had moved to Ohio because that's where home base was for the racing, the farm and all. And I left there when my mom got sick in '84. She had a stroke. I came back to Michigan. And my mom passed. She didn't live very long after. So then my dad's getting up in age. So I said, well, I still helped Uncle John for a while. He wasn't there?
He just walked in his office.
Now how did he get past me there?
I don't know.
I better wake up.
He's sneaky.
So after Mom died, I stayed in Michigan, and I started working for a construction company. It was Diamond Concrete at the time. Hello. And when the young man that was the head of the construction company was relocating, I didn't want to leave Michigan because of my dad getting up in age. He asked me how would I like to go into business for myself. So then I had accumulated a little money, a little capital, I thought it would be a good venture for me outside of my comfort zone. I've been in the man's world, flat work, asphalt and cement. So I had to learn how to operate some heavy equipment, drive the dump trucks, learn some codes and restrictions. So then I would spend a lot of time in the library reading to get a building permit. Had to have a license to be a contractor. So, but if you got a building license, you could do it all. So I got that through more or less on my own, just going to the library, reading up on things, and taking an exam. So I went into the construction business. And you got a house you want me to come out and have a driveway put in? I'm available. But no, back to all seriousness, that was an adventure for me. You're talking about an experience. You're just looking at it when you're passing these guys out there on the road doing this asphalt work and doing pouring cement. There's a lot more to it than that. You up at 5 o'clock and you burn a lot of midnight oil when you get these blueprints and things. Because then you're dealing with like either the county or the state or the city and inspectors, And you got to know if it's a 4-inch approach or if it's a 12-inch approach. I mean, everything you see out there, there's specs that have to be passed before you can do the work. You got to know the gross weight of these vehicles that are going to be on this structure. So that was exciting. And I still do that sometime now, but not, I had to let the company go because help, to get reliable help. And with the unions and these big companies, you got to be in really major with a big company, because a small person, once you get out of sight of the residential and venture out, like I did work at Ford's, Chrysler, GM, but that because the people that I knew, pouring these foundations and these truck wells and things, you got to know someone to get you on the inside. Then the major contractor will give you a portion of whatever he's doing. And most of these projects have deadlines that you meet. And then if you're dealing with the federal government, very tedious work. Because most of the places that are dealing with them where they are getting grants, and when the deadline isn't finished, then you forfeit all this money. So, the weather, you're going to get conditions that aren't going to be suitable for you to do certain things. Then you got to go to another plan. Like if we are pouring the asphalt and it's raining, then you better go and start doing something else, because you can't cool that asphalt off before it goes through the proper procedures to meet the requirements of it. And blueprints was really not that difficult for me to learn how to read. It's just finding certain people that you can call on if it's an electrical work or if it was the cement companies, because sometimes, like when you got cement work, and by you being a small company, if it's a major job, all of these guys are going to cater to that major job where the big money is coming in. Then you're left on the outside with can't get material. So, Granny done lived a very good life. But I think this is one of the most rewarding ones, because I never thought I could deal with teenagers. So many different personalities, so many different mood swings, But it had taught me that we're all different. And good days, bad days, it all boils down to one thing: we all human beings, and we have to respect each other. Like, walk through here, you think it was 800 of you, I would explode. But if I got a second and you call me, I'll answer you. Because I don't know what your problem might be. I might look at you and say, oh, there's nothing wrong. But I don't truly know, because I'm not walking in your shoes, So what is it going to take for me to acknowledge you? Nothing but a little time. And that's all we really have. And we don't have any control of that. Like, I've lived to be 70. Oh, that's a mistake. 17. So I should be to learn something, right? Okay. Just remember, work hard, respect yourself, respect other people, and don't be judgmental, because you do not know another person. See, pain could be so severe, you could hardly sit in that chair now. But I wouldn't know that, right?
Right.
And if you told me you weren't feeling well, who am I to prognose your situation? If you're not feeling well, let me acknowledge what you said as being truth and move on. Like this little incident now we talking about over there with her talking, it's going to be a problem here when we merge. I doubt it. Because first, we're all human beings. I'm sure you've seen people that you would rather not be friends with, but you don't have to be. Just respect them and be upfront with them. If they step on your toes, let them know that you do not appreciate it and move on. Now, you want to ask me another question?
No, that's good. We can end with that. Thank you.